Hey guys, I'm Washing, IELTS hero from EnglishWise Brisbane, and today we're going to be talking about IELTS listening task, especially the maps and diagram portion of it, which is one of the most challenging parts in IELTS listening. So a lot of the students, they struggle really hard with this type of question. The reason why they get 0.5 or 1 band score less than they desire is usually because of maps, diagrams, sometimes can be table, but mostly maps and diagram types of questions. So today I'm going to be looking at 8 different kinds of strategies that you can use to attempt to take this kinds of question and to get better scores in it. So let's look at some of the things that I've written on the whiteboard. So the first thing is read instruction carefully. So it is always the case that with your question, there's going to be some kind of instruction attached to it. If it has a fill in the blanks, it may say use no more than 3 words and or a number. And it comes down to you to make the proper word choice that adheres to that criteria. So make sure you remember when you're checking your answer at the end that you have written the correct word choice. That is, it doesn't exceed the number of words that is allowed from the question. Keep that in mind. Also, another thing is that you don't want to write the words that have been included outside the bracket. For example, if the word asks you something like how much rent should you pay each month, and there's dollars outside the empty box, then you don't have to write the dollar sign or anything. You just need to input the number. So look at the words outside the box as well, or around it. Sometimes these kinds of words may appear at the front of the fill in the blanks of the blank as well. So keep that in mind, read instruction and follow the words around the blank as well. So the next thing we will look into is learning location-based words. So if you've attempted map-based question, you already know that it's not going to be as simple as you think it is. There's always going to be some words like alongside, in the periphery of. They're not going to say it's left or right. It's not going to be that easy. Instead, they will say things like the table is alongside the wardrobe, or the lamp is right in front of the bed, or something like that. So location-based words, these are alongside, beside to, in front of, around, nearby, words like these. So you need to have an intuition of what these words mean as you hear it, because sometimes it can get really confusing if you don't know what these words are. So my second advice is learn location-based words. So let's move on to the third advice. Third advice would be to follow the questions in a chronological order. So what this means is that in map-based question, you always have to follow a chronology. You have to follow a sequence. What this means is that, let's say if you have question 1 till 8 for map-based question, the answer to question number 2 is going to come after answer to question number 1. And likewise, it's going to follow in a step-by-step order. However, keep in mind that the image may not exactly be presented in a step-by-step order. So let's say question number 1 may be at the top and 2 at the bottom. However, the answer to question number 1 is always going to appear at the start, and the answer to question number 2 is going to appear at second, and likewise to the number of questions you actually get in the exams. So make sure you follow a chronological order wherever they appear on the map, and make sure you answer one of those before moving on to the next one. So while keeping that in mind, let's move on to the fourth point, which is listen to the starting point of the context. So what I mean by this is that every time in a map-based question, you are going to be given a starting location. So it will probably be something like, let's say, you are entering a library through the entrance towards the southeast side of the building. So that means your frame of reference starts from the southeast side entrance. This happens with every type of map question. So they are always going to give you a starting point. However, some of the times the starting point may be phrased in different ways. Instead of saying, let's say, a recreation room, they may say something like a recreation center. So it's going to be similar, but in a slightly different. So don't get confused by these kinds of words. Find the starting position that you think is the most likely one, and then start from that position, start from that location. So keep that in mind as well. So the fifth point is going to be predict the answers while listening. So this not only goes to the map-based questions for any kinds of fill in the blanks. So when you are looking at the question, you kind of have to anticipate what kind of answer can it have. For example, if the fill in the blank in the map-based question is, let's say, the southeast corner that is next to the library. So you have to anticipate there's something about the library that needs to be in the audio before you reach that answer. So you know that the answer to this question is coming soon. So you have to learn how to predict that kind of context. For example, let's say two things are nearby, a train station and there's a blank nearby. So you have to understand from that context that they are going to talk about the train station before they give you the answer to your question, that is the blank near the train station. So keep that in mind as well. Understand from the context when the answer is going to appear. Let's move on to the next type of next advice. That is, learn the compass directions. So most of the time, what you will hear is words like go to the northeast, go to the southeast, go to the west, east, all that kinds of stuff. So my advice is just learn the compass direction. Usually you'll be given a compass somewhere on the map as well if these kinds of words appear. But what happens in exam is that you don't get time to actually understand, like you can't process the information fast enough if you're not used to it. So while the audio is moving on, you are still trying to figure out which side is southeast or which side is northeast, things like that. And because of that, your flow, the speed at which you are attempting the question may be ruined and you may miss a couple of more answers. So in order to fix that, in order to solve that, in order to not have that kind of problems in exams, it is very important that you learn location-based, direction-based compass direction words. So let's move on to the next part, that is look at two questions at once. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the earlier point where I stated that the question follows in the chronology. So let's say you have 1 to 5 question. You attempted 1, but you were waiting for number 2 and you can't find it, but you see the answer to number 3 already. So in that case, you have to assume that you missed the answer and move on to number 3 and 4. So because of this, it is very wise to look at two questions at the same time. So you are looking at the first question so that you can answer it, and the second question is to remind you when the answer to the first question has already passed. So it is a very good strategy to look at two questions at the same time. And this may take a little bit of, this may be a little bit confusing at the first time. However, as you attempt more and more tests, you will find it easier and easier to implement this kind of strategy. And my final point is to follow along with your finger or your mouse cursor. So most of the times, when you're looking at a map, there's going to be lots of things in it. So there's buildings, there's roads, and you are confused what I should be looking at. And the audio starts, sometimes the audio is really fast, so you can't really exactly tell what's happening, and you're looking at everything at the same time. And that may create a lot of confusion for you. So to avoid this, what I would say is point your finger as the starting point of what the audio is saying. So like I said earlier, you are always going to have a starting point. When they mention that starting point, point your finger with the cursor, the mouse cursor, or with your finger if you want to. Just point to that position. From there, you can like point your finger and move along the map as they go on to give you directions on the audio. This not only helps you resolve your confusion, but also makes it easier to find the paths that you need to take and arrive at the right answer. So these are some of the good strategies that we implement here at EnglishWise Brisbane. These are some of the things that we teach in our class. If you would like more tips like this, please come to one of our classes where we'll be talking about a lot of tips like this in detail. We'll give you more instruction and personalized feedbacks. You can try a lot of listening tests, reading tests, and we do one-on-one speaking as well. So if you like these kinds of things, join our institute, take one of our classes, come in for a trial to see what it's like. Thank you for watching the video.